I'd like to call to order the Committee of the Whole meeting for May 14th, 2024 at 5:39 p.m. Attendance roll call.
Alderpersons Wolf.
Here.
Hamel.
Here.
Decker.
Here.
Schwer.
Here.
Schrader is absent. Kubaki.
Here.
Madden is absent.
We have a quorum. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
Statement of public notice.
This meeting was noticed in accordance with the open meeting law.
Thank you. Approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. Approval of the minutes from the Committee of the Whole of January 23rd, 2024.
Move to approve. Second.
Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That passes. New business. Topics for discussion. Direct connection for this to the city Muskego sanitary sewer system. Mr. Krieger.
Good evening. Good. It's on. So, in April this year, at the beginning, we had a pretty good significant storm event that hit the city of Muskego. And some of you know we have this very big vault that's for sanitary sewer. We call it the McShane Vault.
Our deep tunnel.
It's our deep tunnel. So it's, I think it's approximately about
Million.
1.7 million gallons or 1.9. I thought it was
It's just under 2. So.
Okay, I'm thinking it's 1.9 then. It's 1.9 million gallons. So we were 6 inches away before we started to have to bypass, which means we would have bypassed the sewage and start dumping it in the creek. So it got to that point. So when we were having the storm event, we were taking our camera trucks out and we were kind of looking, and we camera stuff. We're doing the PPI program and we're looking in new areas. And what we're seeing is a lot of clear water coming in. And where the clear water, even one of our lift stations, Jensen's, is when the storm event hits, let's say it's pumping like 2, it's 10 times as amount. Well, you might see it 2-3 times the amount, but the reason why you're seeing 10 times, it's the direct connections. And people are like, what are direct connections? Well, it's sump pumps that are just shot right into our sanitary sewer and downspouts that are shot right into our sanitary sewer. So they're not going through the normal routes of stormwater. They're just going into our sanitary sewer system. And that's the reason why also MMSD has to dump. You know, too much stormwater in there is for sanitary. So what we want to do, and just kind of let you all know, is we're going to try to do a pretty good educational program. And a lot of people might not know about this. A lot of people might like, it's always done. We should just continue it. And what we're going to try to do is educate people and try to solve their problem. Now, we do have code. You're not supposed to do this at all. It's already in our code, but we're not out trying to cite people. We just need to get them off dumping the clear water into our sanitary sewer, because no one wants backups. No one does. So, and we think it's just an education thing. You know, just educate them, like, how can we work with you? How can we get your sump pump, get it to your front yard, get it to a drainage easement? Let's just kind of work with it. A lot of the new homes, we got skeleton sewers. We're looking at building some skeleton sewers. What skeleton sewers are a little bit behind the storm sewer, that allows us to take the sump pumps and direct them right into it. That goes then eventually into the storm sewer system. It doesn't cause freezing and thaw on the roads. And it's a way of just also, we know where that goes. So that's kind of our goal.
Is that underground?
Yeah, you can see it in some of the new subdivisions.
So the subdivision, the houses are hooking right into something underground?
Correct. Which is great because.
I actually think mine is.
Yeah, what?
I think mine is. I think mine ties into the storm sewer.
Yes.
I was going to say, I think mine does too when
There's a lot of new ones that we do. It's called the skeleton sewer. It's behind it.
So that's correct what they're doing then?
Yes.
For that, it's not correct to connect to the
sanitary sewer. Yeah, you don't want it in the sanitary sewer. When you flush your toilet, that is just for waste. You're not. We don't want you to take your downspouts. We don't want to take your sump pump in there. That capacity.
So is it older homes that are connected in there, or?
I think some older homes.
A lot of them.
I think some that are like, if you're around certain areas where you don't have a lot of space to put your sump pump on the outside because it causes drainage issues, that people just tend to put them in there and connect it right to it. If you're around the lake and your property is very small, it might be an easier way just to put it into the sanitary sewer system.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Can you identify
the homes that are hooked up to that?
Yes.
It's very, you
difficult,
can,
but-
but it's very hard, because once you go in there, a person could be like, you walk in the home, oh, you're gonna check it? Oh, look, it's no longer in there, I can just not put it in there. And we feel like we've done this, I talked to Scott, the previous superintendent, he goes, we find someone, and then a year later, they did it again. So this idea of finding and citing, it's not gonna work. We just need to educate people, and hopefully, in some cases, we can use some of our PPI money and create skeleton sewers and try to say, we're gonna give you a way to connect your downspout and your storm and your sump pump into this so that you don't connect it into the sanitary sewer. Because the benefit is, we don't want anyone to back up. Yep.
But we're going to selectively pick houses because they're not doing it right and help them do it where other houses are doing it right and can have backups and not going to get skeleton screws.
No, that's not what we're talking about at all.
But they won't get it though.
They won't. The
But we're
houses
going to
that
spend the
aren't
money
doing-
on people.
The houses that aren't doing it don't need it. We're just talking about the people, the areas that we know that there's an influx of stormwater coming.
Well, I understand that, but why don't they just do what everybody else does and put it out to the front drain or to the back? If it's a
Because
lake.
some of them might not have that opportunity because of how we have a lot of non-conforming lots around lakes.
But we have a lot of drainage ditches in front of those houses.
Correct,
And
some
of
use
them are
it
pretty
and
big.
some don't. So if we can educate them though, and
But
we
I
can
don't
get
think it's
them.
right that we're going to spend the money on them so they can have that when other houses don't.
We're not talking about spending, first we're talking about educating.
I understand that, but you're talking about putting the PIP money or what you said it was?
Yeah, in some cases, if we can.
We've already used that money to help them on laterals that they didn't have to pay for. Now we're going to do other stuff for them. We're going to keep just giving
Well-
when other people are not getting.
So let's go back with that money for the MMST. We pay a big bill to MMST. They hold that money off to the side for us to do work for this PPI. They want us to do that work and help people out. We're trying, why we're looking at first doing the first
Well,
group.
they want us to spend the money and we were trying to find a way because we have no other way to spend it. That's the real reality of what you're saying.
Yeah, we're looking at ways to do it. One is by replacing the private laterals in areas that we found that we have clear water that to try to eliminate. But if we can eliminate some of the direct connections, our goal is to eliminate this clear water
I
that's
understand the
coming
direct connection, but they should put it outside like everybody else does to the front ditch. I mean, that's what our code is.
I agree.
We shouldn't be
It's
extending other stuff for
It's
whatever.
harder to catch them than you would imagine. It's difficult. And we have found one of the better ways to do it, and talking to other communities, is just educate them. Educate.
Well, I understand
I
that.
think there's
I
a lot
agree
of
with
people
that.
I think there's a lot of people that have no clue. That they bought a house and are like, oh, I didn't
Oh,
know
yeah.
that. And if we can
true.
educate them and we can get them and we can work with them, we're not here to find people. We just want them to follow the rules. And if we can help them follow the rules, these are some of the things that
But these skeletons, we have to maintain all that on top of it. So there's a long-term cost to us on that, where if they just ran it out of their property into the ditch like everybody else is doing, there's no cost. That cost becomes their responsibility. Either they put the drain going out to the front in their lawn, or they bury it in the ground themselves further to the ditch.
So are you saying, Rob, that fining is the way that you suggest?
I never
we do this?
use the word fine. I'm using the word proper, that what everybody else is doing. Why are we going over and above our RAMA things again? And in this case, it's a long-term of a maintenance cost.
Well, I think sometimes too is when we do new subdivisions, we plan for this a little bit better. I think there's a lot of non-conforming subdivisions here. The rules have changed. The design standards have gotten better. Like if you go and look at Mallard Reserve or Champions and see some of the new ones, there is skeletons who are there. Why? Because we've kind of saw our mistake. And I think back in the area, I think like some of the areas like where you live, do you have detention ponds anywhere?
Do we? No. And there's water standing in my backyard every time it rains. So I'd like to have that sewer system in my
that
backyard.
design pattern was changed. So now every
But
time
you could put a skeleton sewers in by me, I would like that.
again, there might be an area where we look
Well,
at
it
doing
might be,
that.
but it doesn't sound like that's where we're going with this. And there's been a lot of flooding in that division over the years. There's been a lot of work on sewers and connections and stuff, and there still is a lot of water going in places.
But the overall good, if we can get people to disconnect from the system, benefits everyone in the MMSC footprint.
Well, I understand that, but
Like,
why don't we
most
just
of
do
my
what everybody
district
else
and a lot of
does?
Eileen's district is
Well,
not in the MMSC
So
footprint.
touching base with your maintenance issue that you have on it, and it's true that if we put in any kind of sewer system, there's some sort of upkeep on it. It's relatively minor, but there's something on it. Is no different. So what you're saying, and I'll be honest, it would benefit your district more so than the rest of ours, because the newer areas of town already have these. So we're already maintaining this for the rest of the community. We're just not maintaining your area right now. So, I mean, if we're talking about putting an investment in something like that, it's directly going to impact your represented areas more so than, Alderman Schrader's, whose area already has these, because our new design standards already call for this to be put in when the place is being built. So we're just trying to take the air. First, we're trying to educate people, and the next thing is we're trying to get the rest of the community up to our current code. It's still different than having, different road standards. As we replace the roads, we do this. So as we're getting into this area and addressing stormwater, we're just bringing it up to our current code, which would be these skeleton systems. Now, from a cost standpoint, yes, we have the maintenance on it, but the actual, for putting them in, yes, there's no such thing as anything free, but we have to, per MMSD, the money's coming from as part of they segregate this part and they give it.
Use it or waste it, I understand that.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Lose it.
And the last thing I think we want to do is we don't want to dump. We
No,
don't, I don't think anyone here wants to dump, and no one wants to have backup.
Dumping is bad enough, but unfortunately, if we
Well,
don't
it's
get
partially treated.
if we don't get to the area to bypass, the kind word is bypass. If we don't get there quick enough, because most of this stuff doesn't happen during business hours, so it's the guy on trade. The alternative to that is the storage is people's basements. And that's why we put it in that 2 million gallon tank, because we were on a regular basis using people's, around the McShane area, their basements were being used for excess storage.
This is more of an education program.
Well, I know.
You're seeing
I
newsletter.
understand about that.
And we want to, the other thing too is this. Our last resort is finding. We want to help people to do this. This is kind of our goal. And we found that talking with other communities, by doing the education and providing help where we can, it's more beneficial to everyone.
Don't get us wrong. There will be cases where we will at least threaten with a citation and issue it, because sometimes you just.
Well, you have to.
We have to.
As we find with our, keeping yards up and everything else,
Well, as a whole, we're pretty lenient on how we start things, so.
But there will be cases. I'm not going to say we're never going to issue citations, because it will happen in some cases.
Is there any questions about this? But you guys I just want to bring this up. And Tim was like, it took guys 48 hours to drain that system out. I mean, we had to be ready. And why we had to take 48 hours? Because a couple days later, it was going to rain again. So I just kind of I'm not trying to be, scary factor. It's just something that we just need to kind of talk about again. And just, if you hear us talking to people, and if you can talk to people too, let us know. But it's just one of the things you'll see in the newsletter. You'll see more information coming. So
I just like to, if there's an idea that we're going to start doing things, I'd like to see the plan. And I'd like to see additional costs that would cost the city as well to hook up these things, rather than put them out in front like most of the majority of the areas have.
I don't know what's the majority of the subdivisions, but.
Well, a lot of newer ones don't. We've been building a lot of new ones, and that's creating a lot of water out there
I would
already.
still say that there's a lot more that people that don't have skeleton sewers than do in the city, for sure.
They what?
There's a lot more people that do not have skeleton sewer than do. Just
Right.
Those are the older homes.
it's older.
Or the
homes.
older subdivision.
Ones without curb and gutter and.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, any other questions? All right, we're moving on to topic 2. Just a lot of exciting topics here. So, next one. It's a very fancy word, but I'm just going to call it what it is. It's PFAS. PFAS has been the hot issue that you've been hearing all over the place right now. It's that forever chemical that we have. All right, and why it's important that we talk about this is EPA just came out with their new standards. So, to kind of give you an idea, Wisconsin DNR, their standard was 70 parts per trillion, and now the EPA rule, which just got adopted by Wisconsin DNR, is 4 parts per trillion. Okay? And so here are some of the requirements in the EPA rule, including the following. public water systems must monitor for these PFAs and have 3 years to complete initial monitoring by 2027, followed by ongoing compliance monitoring. Water systems must also provide the public with information on the levels of these PFAS in their drinking water beginning in 2027. Public water systems have 5 years by 2029 to implement solutions that reduce these PFAS if monitoring shows that drinking water levels exceed these maximum contaminated levels. Beginning in 5 years, 2029, public water systems that have PFAS in drinking water, which violates one or more of these maximum contaminant levels, must take action to reduce levels of these PFAS in their drinking water and must provide notification to the public of the violation. So, we've been testing for about the last year. We are under DNR and we are under EPA. There is not many communities.
There's no communities I've heard of. As some of you are aware, I'm pretty involved in the League of Municipalities. I talk to communities multiple times a week. I don't know of any community that meets new standards besides us. So let's consider ourselves fortunate at this point. You may have been on the news. You've heard about the battle between the legislature and the governor on. There's millions and millions of dollars that the feds have actually given Wisconsin to take care of or help with this, remediate some of these issues. The legislature passed a bill on how to dole it out. The governor vetoed it, and the big hang up on it isn't getting, like, one side it's not like neither side wants to get rid of these chemicals. The problem is the governor wants to include allowing communities to be sued for any results of having PFAS in your water long term. The legislature's bill exempts communities from being sued for this. And I'll be honest, I would rather have that ability not to get sued before they give us a dime, because the amount of money they will give you is not a fraction of what if they get some class actions lawsuits and we're all named parties to it. It could be like the paint industry with lead. So that's the big hang up on it. We're fortunate enough that we don't have it here. Wausau is got a huge problem with it, and it's going to cost millions and millions of dollars. So they're really kind of hoping that something gets done so the money gets released. But we can afford to wait it out until a proper bill gets passed and the governor signs it that would allow us to not get sued in the future.
So, building on that, mitigation processes for some of these, Tim and I have been, and there's some communities that are already starting it. It's not cheap. There's not a cheap solution. There's going to be, like the mayor said, grants, there's lawsuits, there's other funding sources, but even with all those, some communities will still have a huge cost to bear. Now, we're good now, but we're testing this on an annual basis, and you never know. And so why we are kind of letting you know is, if you start seeing capital cost for some things that need to be happening in the next couple of years, I want to kind of give you guys fair warning that this could happen if we don't meet some of these standards. Now, this is not just us. We also have private water trusts. They're following the same standards that we do. If they by chance don't meet it, they're going to have to come up with some solution or another. Now, that one solution might be switching over to the city water where we don't have it. We don't know. I mean, some of this stuff is so interesting. There's a little towns up in middle of Wisconsin that, like, all their private wells have it, and they can't figure out why. There was an article in, like, the Journal Sentinel about a year ago about it. It's really a new thing, and the standard of 4 parts per trillion is real.
Extremely low. It's rather.
Yeah.
It's too much. Almost.
Yeah.
No one wants any chemicals, but that their level is extremely intolerant.
Yeah. So this is kind of just to give you an update on it and where we stand as a city. We are making sure we follow all the rules of the DNR. We are making sure that we tested everything. A couple wells we had to go retest just based off of, but everything that we have done so far, we're looking really good. But I just wanted to kind of give you an update, and it's good that the mayor gave you an update of where it is in the state, because it is a hot topic right now, and you hear it everywhere.
And Scott mentioning the water trust is probably the way this is going to impact us the most, because those individual water trusts, they usually only have one well, and it's very possible their one well won't meet the standards, and they're either going to have to stick, for a small water trust to have to stick, maybe $1 million into fixing the problem. It's going to be cheaper for them to hook up to us. And we went through all this last year, the process of what it takes for them to hook up. So good thing we did that. We're not making this up as it goes, and we have a process in place for that. But it's just something that's probably going to be our, if I were a betting person on this, that's how it's going to impact us first, is one of the independent water trusts are going to have to connect. And, some of them are fairly remote, like the one near Alderman Kabaki is, that's a lot of pipe.
The other thing too is these tests aren't cheap. I'm just letting you know, it costs a lot of money for municipalities. Now, there's certain rules for, I think, the individual water trust. If you're under a certain service, they pay for a lot of those testing, just to let you know. I don't know clearly all it is, but I think they get a pretty big break. But as we get testing more things, it costs more money. It's not cheap to do. It's just not. So I'm kind of letting everyone know this is kind of some of the things that I see that could be an issue. Definitely the private water trust, but definitely if we do get something, and there is a couple communities around us that have it, and if we do, it could be a very costly thing to mitigate. So.
Any questions on this?
Is that all we're looking at it in, is water? I mean,
Yep.
because it seems like it can be another thing. It's in carpetings and all kinds. I mean,
Yeah, because, we don't sell the other stuff, so.
well, I mean, is it in our? I mean,
All we know
is it in our buildings? Or, I mean,
Oh, well,
You know what I mean? Is
it's
it-
something you're ingesting, so that's for the ingesting it.
Yeah.
And we happen to be a producer of water, so that's why that's what concerns us. I mean, yes, if you were to test lake waters and stuff like that, and river waters and all, I'm sure it's in all those things. I mean, it's,
I mean, it's in the soil. It's in.
Sure. I mean, they're called for, I mean, that's how it gets to the groundwater, is it goes through the soil. A lot of, it's not the only chemical that did it, but a lot of the chemicals that caused this were the foam that were used to put out fires. So that's why a lot of rural areas have more issues with it. For one, they just go out to a farm field and they would, run their, do their training and start a car on fire and use their foam, and, it's just ground. Well, eventually it seeped down and got to the water table. So.
I think they use the foam a lot, firefighters around airports too, is a big one too.
Right.
So,
So something to watch for. Next.
okay, last topic, and this is kind of a interesting one, and some know and some don't, so we're gonna kind of go over it again. So, okay, water capacity assessment districts. When the water system was created, every time, for example, let's go with the last one. When we extended the water down Highview to the new middle school, that area was right here, okay? When we do that, we have to amend our water district. And why we have to amend our water district is that means water is available for those people who are in that district, and that allows them to hook up. However, what happens when we do this, we have to have a public hearing, and then we go around and we send them all letters. Well, now there's an assessment because you're part of the water capacity district. But the assessment does not happen until you hook up to water. But on your house, it shows up that it's there. And why we're educating people about this is because, one, Schrader's area, as we do Hill and Hill, we're gonna have to create another one here. And if Kirtland Crossing's coming, which is over here, you're gonna create a pretty big area over there as well, okay? Now, let's go back to the one we just did. That's 18. Why do we do so many? Why didn't we just do the whole city at once, tear the Band-Aid off? So I guess that was what it was decided was, at the time was, we started with this whole big kind of pink area, and that was our first area. And politically, it was just like, as we added on, we just amended the district, okay? So what happens though, two things. When you had just this little area and you have a public hearing, we kind of like close it off and just like, you're doing the rest of this area. So we have two things that come in. I have a person that comes over here and says to the public hearing, this is the greatest thing in the world. I'm getting city water. And I have to tell him, there's never ever we're gonna run water to your house. You're just part of the district. And he was very disappointed that he wasn't getting city water. Then you have other people here where the water went past their house and you have to explain to them, yes, you have an assessment, but at that time, you don't have to hook up. You know, that wasn't the requirement at it. Now our new requirement is you have to hook up on the point of sale, okay? So we send this when we do a public hearing. There's a lot of frequent asked questions or whatever. Why I'm talking to you is, one, we're gonna do this here for sure in the next couple months. And I'm trying to give you a heads up because a lot of you have never been part of this.
I already got the call.
Yeah.
I already got the call today.
Yeah. And two, we're gonna do it again for a pretty big area up here. And when we do it these areas, we kind of like, okay, we're gonna just kind of follow property lines and just kind of do this whole area. So even though there's a lot of people that are gonna be part of this district, they're never gonna get water, but it just makes sense to follow big property lines and just take care of a big area. Now, my next question is, are you okay with us keep doing the process of little amendments every time, or do you want to do the whole city? And again, it's up to you, and why we're asking you is because we're doing one, and we have another big one, or would you like the process that we do, where you just slowly, surely do it as water just kind of moves along?
Scott, is there in between those two options also? Could we do like the northern half of the city in one?
You could do it, yeah, you could. We could do.
I was just trying to explain that we don't have, there's more
Yeah.
than just that, so.
Yeah, the big white blob on the lower left-hand corner is District 6.
Yeah,
No.
again.
No, thank you.
Okay, again, and again, guys, without a doubt, there is questions, I'm letting you know. And like, we have a frequently asked questions, people come, they ask all the questions. We're already kind of prepping people along Hill and Nail Road for this, but at the same time too, we have to have a public hearing. And when the letters go out for the public hearing, it'll probably be in here, and we'll have 4 or 5 of us talking to all the residents about this. But I want to let you know it's coming.
So if I live on Field Drive,
Yep.
and I'm gonna be in the new district, but there's not a water pipe in front of me, what does that mean for me?
So all that means is it's going to show up on a title search that you are part of this assessment, but you don't get charged anything until you hook up with water. All right? But it will be on your title search. So when people come up and they say, oh my gosh, you have a water capacity assessment on your title search. Yes, come in, we explain to you what that is, and then everyone gets information on it. But it will show up on a title search. I want to let everyone know.
I thought there was some type of time limit or something. Was it a reclaim charge or something? Is that totally different?
That's a totally different thing. That's a recapture agreement. We're not
Okay.
going to talk about that at all. We're just throwing that off to
And
the side.
that won't be involved
No,
in any
no,
of this?
no, nope.
Okay, because I remember that with going to the school.
Yeah,
in
and that
area.
there was something with this, but we're just talking about the districts.
Rob, Bob, how would you address that in your work?
How would I do what?
Oh, Bob,
Oh, me?
yeah.
There's no impact.
About making your home now.
Yeah, clearing title.
What's that?
How do you clear title? How would you?
Well, it would have to be paid at closing.
But there's no assessment, there's no charge on it, so there's nothing to
Right.
get paid. It's just a potential liability. It comes back on a title similar
I don't think it
to,
would affect anything.
no, it doesn't.
It doesn't really affect anything once they get educated.
shows
It's just
up.
that it shows
Okay.
up. It will show up. I just want to, like this person here, when they sell their house and they're here, this will show up that they have a water capacity assessment on that house. But the assessment the money doesn't take place until the hookup is there.
So if they sell, is it mandatory to hook up at that point then?
No, because if there's no, if
didn't
the
think
water's
it
not
was.
available, see, that's,
Only if the water is attached to their property line. So if the water runs back past their property line, They have an option of connecting or not connecting. However, at the sale, they have to connect.
They have to connect, that's what I'm saying, okay.
But you can be inside the district and not have the water pipe go by your house. Just means you're in the district.
I'm assuming if it's hooked up and they decide not to hook up and there's a charge and there's assessment, and when they would sell, it would be negotiated between the sellers and the buyers who's going to pay for that.
Typically, yeah.
Yeah. Now, just one other wrinkle, well, we use the term available. There's some places where we have water main in front of people's houses and we cannot give them water because of the pressure. We would not be able to serve them enough pressure to serve their house, just to let you know. And it's very rare, but there's a couple cases out there. So availability is why we call it, because you could have a water main right in front of your house, but if we don't have enough pressure and you're up on a pretty high hill, we will not be able to get you pressure and it will not work.
Well, wasn't part of that the argument that I had with you guys when I was on the school board connecting?
Yeah.
My argument was I don't want to pay to have enough pressure for everyone else to hook up. I'm just concerned about the school. And ultimately, the compromise on that was the school district paid for the main infrastructure and the city paid for the upgrading to have the higher pressure.
Yeah.
Bigger pipes.
That's where we finish that loop or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
So I have a question, because I did get that call today.
you got some calls. You haven't gotten this yet because it hasn't gone out yet.
Well, so people are door knocking right now
Yeah.
and telling people in my district around Hillendale that they can hook up to water?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, they have that. When the water comes in,
Okay,
they have the
so-
opportunity. They will have that opportunity.
So the call that I got today, they potentially might want to hook up.
Yep.
But they can't afford it now.
Then you don't have to.
Is there anything where it can just be assessed on taxes yearly, like a breakdown of it? Or
no.
is it all at once?
It's all at once.
Payment?
Well, I think when we built, I thought we had a water assessment on ours unless it was something else. And it could be
sure,
put on
when
the
you build out,
taxes and paid out over 5 years.
Yeah,
I
we don't
wanna
do that
say.
anymore. We've done that in some very, very finite areas, but that's not a standard practice.
No, because when they build, it's charged right with the building
Now,
at the
typically,
time.
it's gonna be a lot
builder never
cheaper for
told us.
them to connect now than it will be 5 years from now or even a year from now.
Our assessment goes up every year.
Our assessment not only goes up, but the actual connection cost would be
Correct.
cheaper during
Well,
construction.
so I guess
DPW was that.
she's thinking, I don't have 10 grand right now
Okay.
to do this. But eventually, when you sell, it's going to have to get done.
It's gonna have to come
So-
out of the sale of the home, yeah, or have the new
So
buyer.
this
buy
is
it.
going to be a fun one.
So the question you asked is, you want to do half the city or you want to do as we go?
Do
And
you want to
I
just
think
keep doing as we are?
As we are.
As we are.
That's-
So the next one will be Amendment 19 for the Hillendale. And probably, I see the next one would be Kirtland. If Kirtland ever goes, that'd be Amendment 20. And as you can tell, we have room. We can keep doing this. This map is on our GIS system. But why we were just asking you is because we just didn't know. If you even knew, that's how we did it.
I mean,
And-
we could, either way, you're doing education, you're doing a public hearing, but you're also doing an educational process through this. And I don't think I'd advocate for doing the whole city at once, but if you're going to do anything a large scale, I would almost like say, take the northern half and just get it done with, and then have an educational process for everyone all at once, but
It's up to you guys.
It's up to you
It's-
guys.
Well, I agree in the sense
What's
that,
the
I'm not advocating
difference
either way.
between
Well-
piecemealing it section by section and splitting it up into larger sections? What does it mean?
A lot of different DNR filings,
It's not actually DNR filings, it's more of this. It's a lot of work. We gotta send letters out. We gotta have a public hearing. We gotta have all the information done for this one area. Every time we do it, we have to do a legal of the area. So we kind of follow
But
property
wouldn't you
lines.
have to do that anyways if we're one big
Yes,
area? and
yeah, but I don't
added
have to do it once.
but
If I do it,
it's cheaper it's cheaper for us to have it all done at once versus, almost annually.
and my 2 cents on this, because obviously it's getting done right now in my district. But with social media and the way people are talking Muskego, we're all friends with everybody all over Muskego. Like, people are going to be talking about it anyway and wondering, when's this going to happen to us? And why didn't we, Why didn't we get a notice? Why aren't we getting this? I almost feel like it's something where doing it all, ripping that Band-Aid off is not a bad idea.
It would be, from a legal standpoint, is you take WCA districts 18 and you take the whole city and minus that, and that's your legal description. But you do it one and then you're done. Once you do this one more time, if you would do the rest of the city, you're done. We don't have to
I
do it
looked
again.
into this. There's no law that says we have to do it the way we do it. We found out we just been doing it that way because that's what started years and years ago. So we can do the whole city at once, and that would eliminate some of the stuff Scott's talking about.
It was actually used as a tool to control development years ago when they first did it. There was a strong belief, and it's somewhat true, of, if you controlled the amount of development through two pipes, the water pipe and the sewer pipe. And it was one way to help try to control it. I don't think it has any impact on the areas that are going to have it right now or not, because the developer comes in and then there's an area like Kirkland Crossing that's developable for concentrated lots. They have to pay the cost anyway. They're going to, if it makes sense, they're going to do it.
It seems a little cumbersome to be doing it the way we are, section by section.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of you guys, change isn't easy. And,
Yep.
Sometimes it takes, and we don't need to make a decision on this today anyway. We're gonna have a cow in a couple of weeks, just a night of just conversations. I can throw it at the end of the agenda on that one, and you guys got some time to digest it and decide what you guys want to do.
Well,
So we could-
selfishly, I'd rather see us do the northern half of the city, because we ain't going to get water where I am in my lifetime.
So here's what I'm going to do, though, just because I can't stop the process with the Hill and Dale. So I'm going to just do Amendment 19 right now, moving forward. Just this area over here, you'll get a map. And why I need to do it is because I need to have it in place, because there is several people that are interested on Hill and Dale Road to hook up to water as soon as we get it all
And it's
tested and
happening.
ready to go, and they just want to go. So my plan is, because it takes a while, we have to, do public hearing, we have to get people, notices and everything. I'm going to move forward with 19, and you guys can discuss how you want to handle the next kind
Since
of.
he's got to go forward with it, and you seem to be somewhat on board, would you guys care if we do that whole quadrant from, like Racine Avenue west and Janesville
I would maybe-
north? Just, that area?
Like, foul and just do as much as I
It's all
can.
Deb's district anyway.
It's all, I don't mind.
And that area is already developed, so,
Well, there's farmland in there.
There's a lot of farmland.
so are we putting money into an area that is going to be sitting for a while that we're not going to recoup?
We're not putting any more. We're putting the same amount of effort as if we're doing that little area. He's going to do it.
Yeah, might as well just
Just
do
that
it all
area.
at once
It's just-
rather than.
It's just paperwork.
This is not us extending water main pipes. It is just extending the water capacity district.
Oh, just the district, not putting the pipes in?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's just
This
drawing on a
is-
map.
This affects areas such as Kevin's. Does it have any effect on his?
Well, the only effect it's going to have is that my phone is going to ring off the hook saying, I want water, if I'm going to be in a water district.
All you do
And I
is
have to
golf
explain
anyhow.
to every single person that the water's not available. You don't pay for it. No, thank you.
Those are the two questions. You get, the one person says, I'm in the district, great, when am I getting water? Or, I'm in the district,
Don't want it.
I don't want it. And you can tell them, there's a really good chance, anyone over here is never, ever going to get water.
So
Ever.
if they're in the district and say they got 20 acres sitting there in a farm, and you get the pipes going down the main roads around it, and they can put their own private wells in if they put a subdivision in?
Well, if we look
right?
at how, well, we have to, it's all based off planning and zoning and looking where the area is.
Because we don't really do that anyway, do we? We try to, if you put a subdivision, you try to get the water to it first, right?
We discourage private wells for any development.
Okay, that's
But
what I
like-
just wanted to
But like the
double check.
case, let's say like Fleet Farm, when that went in there, we looked at running municipal water there, but we couldn't get the fire flow pressure reasonably over there, so we just said, okay, go ahead, put your own wells in. What we look at everything individually. So if it's reasonable, it depends who you're talking to. The developer never thinks it's reasonable. They want to do the cheapest route ever. But we look at it from our end, and we try to expand the system when we can, because it's best for everyone. One thing I should compare this to, we're talking about this, if you're in the water district or not. The whole city of Muskego is in MMSD's service area. That doesn't mean that
Except for
except for,
not us.
yeah.
a little bit down here, it goes to Norway.
Except for this little area that's serviced by Norway. But, you know, just because you're in the district doesn't mean you have sewer service available to you. It's the same thing with this. And we did that years ago, and quite honestly, we didn't get a peep from anybody when we did that, so.
As long as you craft the letter
Correctly.
properly,
Right.
it should,
In theory, you're still going to get calls.
The letter, no matter how well you craft it, it doesn't matter.
No.
They're coming. People will come up, and it's again, it's education.
Yeah.
It's education, and I just remember I literally started like 6 months, and we did the one for the school. And again, these are the two people you get. You get the people that want the water, and they're excited because they think they're getting water, and the people that are like, hey, I don't want the water. Why I'm in this district? I'm not paying for anything. And then you explain to them.
All right, we need to move this along.
okay, one other question, and, because I said 10 grand, is that the ballpark cost to hook?
So
or-
this
or
is
just-
a tough one for me to
Okay.
answer.
Okay.
I would have to say I'm hearing from new construction 8 to 10.
8 to 10.
Okay.
That's new construction, though.
Oh,
you're-
so.
Existing one that's got to convert over, they have a well right now, they got to, do the service might be in the back of their yard, now they got to bring it to the front. 10 grand's probably pretty reasonable, but we're not quoting.
What if the
anyone.
house is very far set back?
Yeah,
from the
okay,
road?
so.
we're not plumbers.
There's no, we're
just
not
one-
doing any quotes.
One quick question on the wells. If you bring water in, they can still use that for their outdoor watering?
Yes.
Yes.
Right,
Yes.
okay, I just wanted.
You just got to
She's
follow.
asking, yeah.
There's Waukesha County rules where you have to get it tested so many times and just follow the rules. Nope.
No.
Nope.
Okay, sorry, last question. If somebody is interested, do you give them a bid, or
We don't
don't
touch
give them
it.
anything.
They do their own thing.
they just get it done themselves?
Yep.
Nope.
Scott, you should make sure it's by footage. You're saying 8 to 10, it could, if they have a bigger place, it could be
That's what I'm saying.
$15,000.
That's what I'm saying. If
Or
the
it could
house
be
is set back,
$5,000.
why we know it's for new construction, because everything's kind of set uniformly through the subdivision.
Right.
That's why I'm able to say that for new construction.
Okay.
All right.
Yep,
Are you guys okay? Are you okay with us doing that one quadrant?
Sure.
yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, so I'm gonna pretty much do Janesville, I'm gonna fill up this whole area and then take whatever the property line, this all over at once, this whole quadrant I'm gonna do.
So that's like Quick Trip, from Quick Trip, or
Yeah.
is that what you're talking?
Yeah, I'm just following the roads from Janesville north to our property line.
To the north, to the city limits and Racine.
Oh, so
Racine
past
west
the
of
moose
city.
lot on the other side of the road?
Yep,
Correct.
Okay.
All right.
and I'll forward my phone to Scott.
All right.
Sounds good.
And Deb, what's your phone number? Tell everybody right now.
All right.
Thank you.
Any communications or miscellaneous business? If not, a motion to adjourn would be in order.
So moved.
Second,
All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Committee of Holes adjourned at 6:22.